Hello everyone. So I just watched the movie Odyssey and a lot of things to tell about that movie. So many things happen. It is like, what did I just watch? Like, it is the first feeling is that it is just an epic. So many things to say, and the most important being that Christopher Nolan is a guy who, of course, he loves making movies, but more than a story, more than a films, what impact that movie will have. More than all of that, he is more about giving a cinematic experience to people. And in some sense, this is great, but in this sense of this movie, it actually went a little bit astray. Means, so of course, but we will talk a lot about stuff, but starting with the most important thing, that should you watch this movie or not. And of course you should watch it. It's a cinematic experience. I watched it in IMAX and I loved every sense of it. I really loved it, every sense of it. There are of course issues with this movie. I will not say that this is anywhere close to one battle after another or Dune Part 2, two of the best movies that I've seen in this decade already. And even the Batman Part 1 was something that was phenomenal. But still, at the end of the day, the effort that Christopher Nolan has put and the vision that he had, if you are into movies, and you will have to praise that person, you will have to appreciate the effort that he has put, means there is no other way around it. Even if you are not happy with his casting choices, even if you are not happy with something here and there, I don't know, but everything else, I will say it was just phenomenal. There are so many things, because this movie had so much controversy as well. The first thing being that the movie actually starts, the first few seconds, it is Elliot Page on the screen, and I also was thinking that he must be Achilles, but actually he is not Achilles, so I don't know where people got that idea from, because I think people thought that because he is wearing a warrior like armor, and so people had this thought that, yeah, why not, he should be playing Achilles, and he is not Achilles. He is Elliot Page is Elliot Page is a different character. Talking about Athena, I will say Zendaya again, Christopher Nolan here, he played a trick. Athena is not, they don't show Athena as a brown woman. Means, I'm going to go into the spoilers category. Okay, so the thing is simple, that I will be speaking spoilers because the book is out thousands of years, and I don't think it really matters. You should go and watch this movie anyways. But I'm going to talk because I like to talk about a lot of stuff. So I cannot stop myself from being free. Okay, so Athena here is an imagination of Matt Damon, and that whole scene where it is revealed that who actually was Zendaya. It was such a beautiful, it was such a beautiful scene, and I was actually waiting for that hit, that they need to show how they ascend the Troy, ascend the city of Troy. And honestly, I did not see it till the first 1 hour, I think. And but when it comes actually two times, not just one time. It actually properly is shown two times, and I actually loved it. Okay, so I did mumble jumbled a lot in the start. Let me say the most important thing right now, that the Odyssey, what the movie is about like the, you know, it is a very poignant film. Like, it is not all like, because this is Christopher Nolan, he's a very mature filmmaker, so we knew he would not be like, just showing Odysseus as like, some like adventurer who is just gonna do crazy stuff, and what crazy stuff is going to happen. This movie is like about him mourning his, man's death. This movie is about him knowing the fate of what is going to happen in the future, and this movie is about also him, like, repenting on this idea that he should not have ascended Troy. Like, he should not have broken the law of Zeus. Like, that's what they say in this film. Like, but he should not have broken the moral law, the law on which every human being lives by. That, that you should not cheat, you should not steal. And so that is like, that is the main essence of this film. There are so many things in Christopher Nolan movies, like, small details everywhere, like so many things that, that just make him like, an exceptional filmmaker, like all the exceptional filmmakers we have at this time. Like, there is a scene in which, there are so many scenes about the Odysseus himself, like, that Odysseus, when he is like, I think when he is at home, and then he gets up, and there are so many like, there are so many wreckages of ship on his, on his back, and in a way that is like a symbol of like, all the stars that he has gotten into, like, and he has traveled with. I think the reason why Matt Damon was selected as Odysseus by Christopher Nolan is, I'm pretty sure that he wanted to show Odysseus as a flawed human being, and because I think Christian Bale or anyone else, like, of anyone other top actor, even like I was like there's this new trailer of the movie Digger of Tom Cruise. Like, even if he had approached Tom Cruise, I think that would have been an excellent Odysseus. Like, Matt Damon did a great job, but it was still a little bit like, something was like, I was not getting that feeling. Like, means he did play that whole thing, like, that like a smart man, not just a shredded human being, but like, a smart person who can fight people. But it just felt like, he, I think, the reason why Christopher Nolan had him was because they wanted to have flawed person play him. The other characters in the movie, from Penelope, played by the amazing Anne Hathaway, from what Robert Pattinson played, from what Elliot Page did, and even that, I think he's an Indian American guy who was the second to Odysseus in the film. All of them were excellent, like, and Penelope was excellent. Charlize Theron was in the film, and she was absolutely, like, she looked stunning like crazy. Like, she looked really beautiful, and her role was really nice. I was really surprised to see the girl from the movies, like, the H series or something like that. Like, that girl was also here, and she looked amazing. Like, she had a very small role, like, but I wish, I wanted to see her more and more, because she was stunning. Zendaya, as always, like, stunning. Tom Holland, amazing. But I think the choice about Odysseus was more not of like some epic human being, but a flawed human being, and I think that's why Matt Damon did that, and I think that's why Christopher Nolan kind of achieved what he wanted to show in Odysseus. Talking about other stuff, the music of the movie, I will say some places the movie's music is amazing, especially when if you're watching it in IMAX with the sound design and sound engineering there. It's like, it's all bumping, like, it's like, it's that is that horror, is that thrill that is phenomenal. But I will say that, man, I'm still like, from the past two movies of Christopher Nolan, like, Oppenheimer and this and even Tenet. I love the music of Tenet, but Oppenheimer and this movie, the Odyssey, I was missing Hans Zimmer, because Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan, they made music for the ages, like, even Dunkirk, like, they made music for millennia. And Hans Zimmer is at least a little better than, Ludwig Göransson. Like, Ludwig Göransson is a lot of pumping and a lot of, like, lot of flute and all of that was there, but it was nowhere near, like, what Hans Zimmer achieved in Dune Part 2, what Hans Zimmer achieved in, The Dark Knight Rises, the, Batman Begins. So many, Hans Zimmer, Inception, Hans Zimmer, Interstellar. And I was definitely missing Hans Zimmer. And probably if Hans Zimmer was there, this I would have loved this movie a lot more if Hans Zimmer was there. But that's fine, Ludwig Göransson is still very talented, extremely talented person. So that's okay if Christopher Nolan has a choice. Who else do we talk about right now? The story. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about Lupita Nyong'o. She does play Helen, and I did not like her role. Like, she is nowhere close to, like, how a woman that beautiful should look like. And especially they give us scars in the movie, and that, it just does not make sense, man. It just does not make sense. Like, they should not have done that. Like, but yeah, that is one thing for sure, that Hans Zimmer was needed. They needed someone else for Helen, probably a better casting choice for Odysseus, but still, Matt Damon was able to do everything else. Like, and I actually love the wits of, like, Matt Damon. I loved him in Good Will Hunting. Like, and that was the role that he was made for. I'm gonna talk something about the movie. The movie has so many things going on, and the movie is so fast. And the movie is actually kind of a spoiler, because it's made on a book, and that actually is kind of, like, a little bit disadvantageous for the movie. Like, means there were no stakes in the film. That was one of the things that I was really, like, because with, like, with the I'm gonna really, like, say, like, with one battle after another, I'm like, it was just like a perfect movie. Like, last year it came, and it was, like, just phenomenal. Like, this movie is more about, like, a cinematic achievement, because they have filmed all of it in IMAX, and the amount of effort they put, you can just see all that effort that they put. Even the writing choices of Christopher Nolan, he decides that he wants to have that. He decides that what he wants to cut and what he does not want to cut. It is excellent. It is excellent. But the movie is just, like, it just does not bind you. Like, you just feel awe in this movie, that, oh wow, that is just amazing, man. That is just awesome. Like, that he was able to do that. He was able to do this. But you don't really have, like, any dog in this fight. Like, you are, like, you're not really, like, cheering for anyone. You're not really, like, having any, you're not really into this whole scenario. Like, you're just letting the things go. You do kind of start hating Robert Pattinson because he's the villain of the movie, and he should be. But the problem is that they have shown him very typical, like, old character. That Robert Pattinson, like, he just wants the throne, and he is trying to seduce two women. And definitely, they try to give him a bad story, but that also was just too quick. Like, not to hold. Like, I was not able to hold on it. But yes, this movie is going to make a lot of money, because people have not watched anything like this, like in their lives. Like the amount of effort that he has put, uh, I was thinking that in this movie there's a scene when there are lions and tigers, and because Christopher Nolan does not like CGI, so did he bring train lions and tigers? I don't know. It is a thing that I should check. I read the book Odyssey very, very, very long time ago, and at that time I was very young too. I don't even remember a lot of stuff, so I don't know how much history have they changed. uh, so when this movie's trailer arrived, people were not happy that they were using the word dad, and I read in the comments of that YouTube trailer video, and they were using the word dad. There are a lot of other words like responsibility, which will be used, man, because it's an English language. It is not in ancient Greek, and it has to be used because Christopher Nolan is making the box office blockbuster. I nowhere felt that his choices with dialogues were wrong. He's using the word dad. He's using the word what. He's also using the word bastard a lot of times. I don't know if that word was used in the older interpretations of the Odyssey. I don't know. I also liked the costumes of the movie, because people were this is just too dark and grayish, and but it is the demand of Hollywood. It is the demand of times. I I seriously would say that if we had put them in those kind of costumes, reddish, I don't know how the movie would have looked or they would have done it. They would have probably able to pull it off because they are Hollywood. They have got the best artists working on these things, but still, I would say that I'm happy with what they did right now. The movie had another criticism that the movie looks very in a weather of Norway. And yes, they sometimes go to some places where there is a lot of snow and all. uh I don't know if they were there. I don't know if real Odysseus, if he had ever and charted on this kind of territories, if he would have encountered some small snow or not. But the movie does have a lot of Mediterranean tint. I don't know if Christopher Nolan changed it later on, in the final cut of the movie, because he saw a lot of people saying things about it. So I don't know if he changed it, but saying one thing good and one thing bad, Christopher Nolan had a great say in what things to be shown and what things to be not, because as I told you, I read the Odyssey long time ago, and there was a scene in which the Odyssey, I think, or the Odysseus, he goes to an island. He tries to show off his bravery to people. He does and I think that whole thing is edited from this film. And it's actually good, man. So this movie has a lot of horrifying scenes, especially with the one with Cyclops. Is it Cyclops? Yeah, especially with the one with Cyclops, and especially with those giants also. The movie had some really, really, really horrifying scenarios. Does the movie feel long? Yes, it does feel long, especially the last. You're like, oh my god, let it go, let it go, let it go. But I think it's just like an artist who's just trying to show, and I think he's just trying to put so much into it. What will be Christopher Nolan's next film? He's going one step ahead with every movie. He's just making it bigger and bigger. What will he make next? I think some sci-fi now, because he has made so many of this historical now. I think he might go to some sci-fi. But Christopher Nolan, like I said, that there are good things in this movie. There are crazy stuff too, and the thing is that it just feels like a formulaic blockbuster. It just feels like there is just so much he's showing, tears, emotions, happiness. There's just so much he's showing in this film, that he doesn't let us stick to one place, and the story goes very fast ahead, and you are not able to even hold some of those emotions. So but again, then people would have criticized if the movie was slow, then nobody would watch it in today's day and age because of this TikTok and all this social media, so people would not even watch it. But so many, it's for me, it was a very in the middle movie. Like, it was a great movie, but at the same time, it's not like, it is an achievement. It is a filmmaking achievement. And when I was watching the movie, I was so less thinking that that I wish I could make something like that in this life, like something so epic, and something so eye watering, like something so seductive, like to your eyes, like the costumes, the dialogues, the people. I just was, means it was just so phenomenal. It was just so epic. I was like, but at the same time, I was feeling that it is still not great. Like the work is not as great as Danny Villeneuve, Paul Thomas Anderson. So all these things, so it's like a mixture. Like this movie for me ultimately was a mixture. I will not say mid by any chance, because it was a great movie, and this movie is going to make a lot of money, and it should make a lot of money, because we want people to have money to put, we want this kind of movies to be bankrolled, by studios and everyone else, so that they can make more and more of these, and that would be really phenomenal. I'm really, like, so many emotions, but I will say, regardless of me saying anything, people will watch it, and people should watch it. And but at the same time, I wish Christopher Nolan, he brings back his, the Prestige Christopher Nolan, or he brings back the Dark Knight and the Batman Begins Christopher Nolan, because it was not as great as those, especially not as great as, like, the Dark Knight, or like, not as great as, like, the beautiful, the Prestige. Like, it was not that great, like, uh, maybe probably next movie there we will see Christian Bale again in a Christopher Nolan film. So that's it, guys. The most awaited movie of this year for so many reasons. It is a monumental watch. Like, it is a monumental watch. People will not forget this movie for years. Like, that, oh, we watched something that epic. Like, some, like, that kind of experience. Like, especially those who will watch it in IMAX or IMAX with 70mm, they are going to love talking about this movie for a long time. But still, like, he needed to do some more job on the story side. Like, that is what I will say. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.